Right, so welcome to this deep dive. Today we're going deep on tick control.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, right. Well, everyone hates ticks, right?
Right.
So we're looking at this company, Freedom Wildlife Solutions. They're pest control based in Clayton, North Carolina.
Right? Huh.
Yeah, and their website, I don't know, it's just kind of caught my eye. They're doing something it seems like a little bit different.
Yeah. Their approach, what's interesting to me is they're really emphasizing, I think it's called integrated pest management.
Oh, yeah, IPM.
IPM, yeah. So it's like not just spraying chemicals everywhere. It's kind of like
Yeah,
a
like more holistic.
yeah, more holistic, thinking about the ecosystem, the whole thing.
Yeah, and I saw they were talking about habitat modification, which I thought, okay, that's just a fancy way of saying mow your lawn.
Yeah.
But they're actually talking about like landscaping changes you can make to your yard to make it less tick friendly. Like, do you think that actually works?
Oh, it can be actually surprisingly effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like think about it. Ticks, they love, damp, shady areas.
Sure.
So if you open up your yard, more sunlight, clearing out brush, creating dry borders, like you can actually really significantly reduce the tick habitats. Like you're taking away their favorite hiding spot.
Right. Just making it inhospitable.
Yeah.
But, okay, so ticks, they're more than just a nuisance, right? I mean, these things can spread some pretty serious diseases.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are some of the lesser-known tick-borne illnesses that you think people should be more aware of?
Well, I mean, beyond Lyme disease, which everyone's heard of, you've got anaplasmosis.
Anaplasmosis, okay.
Ehrlichiosis, babesiosis.
Wow, these are
They can cause a range of symptoms from just like flu-like illness to more serious complications like neurological problems, even organ damage.
Oh, wow.
And the tricky thing is they often mimic other conditions, so it can be
hard to diagnose.
really hard to diagnose. Yeah.
So it's more than just like an itchy bite. We're talking like
Oh, yeah.
serious stuff.
Yeah, serious health risks.
Yeah. So it seems like early detection would be key. Do you think most people know how to properly check for ticks?
That's a good question.
Like, I don't know that I do.
Yeah. I mean, Freedom Wildlife Solutions, they actually have some tips on their website
Okay.
about, identifying the different types of ticks and how to do like a thorough tick check.
Right.
But yeah, I think there's probably a broader educational gap there. A lot of people probably wouldn't know a deer tick from a dog tick or what to look for on their bodies or their pets even.
Right. And that kind of ties back into that, Freedom Wildlife Solutions being veteran and family owned.
Right.
They're kind of setting themselves up as these experts that you can trust. It's like your friendly neighborhood,
Right. They know the local.
They know everything about the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smart.
Smart marketing strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. And, speaking of expertise, they really highlight their technician certifications.
Mm-hmm.
Does that actually tell us anything about like the quality of their service, though?
Well, it's certainly a good sign. I mean, it shows that they're investing in the training,
Sure.
For their staff on proper methods and, safety protocols.
Right.
But, it's worth noting there's no like universal certification for tick control. So
Okay.
always a good idea to ask about their specific training and experience.
Right. So it's not like a guarantee, but it's at least
Yeah, it's a starting point.
a starting point. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm always, I have to admit, a little skeptical of companies that say they offer like customized plans.
Yeah.
Like, how can they really tailor their approach to every single property?
Right. That's a valid point. I mean, it's likely a combination of factors, right? It's the size of the property, the level of infestation.
Right.
Are there pets? Are there children? And the client's concerns. But you're right. True customization would require like a really thorough inspection.
Right.
So I wonder if they're really doing that for every client.
Yeah.
Or if it's just kind of a
buzzword.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, that detailed inspection is what kind of caught my eye.
Okay.
They talk about like identifying tick habitats and assessing the infestation level.
Yeah.
Sounds almost like detective work,
Yeah, and that's crucial for effective tick control.
Right.
You need to understand where the ticks are concentrating.
Right.
And what environmental factors are contributing to the problem.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so thinking about ticks and their habitats, like I'm curious, do certain types of landscapes attract more ticks than others?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, like what?
Well, ticks, they really thrive in environments that have like moisture, shade, plenty of hosts to feed on, right?
Right, of course.
So, wooded areas, tall grassy fields, even like areas with dense landscaping, those tend to harbor more ticks. And, fragmented forests, so like patches of woods that are interspersed with residential areas.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, those can be like tick hotspots.
Oh, so living near a wooded area could actually increase your risk of encountering ticks.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. Well, and that makes me think about, like, all the people who love hiking, spending time in nature.
Right.
What advice would you give them, like outdoor enthusiasts, to kind of minimize their risk?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, awareness is key, right?
Sure.
Just knowing that ticks are prevalent in certain areas, that's the first step. And then
Yeah.
it's about taking practical precautions. So wearing light-colored clothing can help you spot ticks more easily.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah, tucking your pants into your socks, that creates a barrier.
Right.
And using EPA-registered repellents, things that contain D or permethrin,
Okay.
those can provide additional protection.
Right, so practical steps you could take. Okay, and I remember Freedom Wildlife Solutions, they mentioned, doing thorough tick checks after you've been outdoors.
Yeah.
Like, what's the best way to actually do that?
It's more than just a quick glance over.
Right.
You really need to take the time to carefully examine your whole body, paying close attention to areas where ticks like to hide. So
Okay.
behind the ears, in the hair, under the arms, around the waistline, even between your toes.
Okay, so like
A full body
a
scan.
full body scanner. Right?
Yeah.
It's like a good excuse for like a little self-care ritual.
Here you go.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so while we're talking about ticks and health, I wanted to go back to something you mentioned earlier about how it can be really difficult to diagnose tick-borne illnesses.
Right.
Like, why is that such a challenge?
Well, for starters, the symptoms of many tick-borne illnesses are nonspecific,
Okay.
and they can mimic other conditions. So, fatigue, fever, muscle aches.
Yeah, like a lot of things, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those could be signs of a tick-borne illness, but they could also be due to a whole bunch of other things.
So it's like a medical mystery trying to figure out
Yeah, it can be really tough.
what it is.
Yeah, and to complicate matters, the standard Lyme disease test,
Okay.
the ELISA test, it's known to have limitations.
Really?
Yeah, it can miss early cases of Lyme,
Oh.
and it doesn't test for all tick-borne illnesses.
Oh, so it's not even a catch-all.
Right, it's not a perfect test by any means.
So, okay, so what happens then if someone suspects they might have a tick-borne illness,
Right.
but the standard test comes back negative?
Yeah, that's where things can get tricky. I mean, some doctors might dismiss the possibility
Oh, wow.
of a tick-borne illness if that ELISA test is negative.
Really?
But it's important to advocate for yourself,
Yeah.
And if you have persistent symptoms and you've got a history of tick bites,
Right.
seek out a doctor who specializes in tick-borne diseases.
Oh, so you might need to find a specialist.
Yeah, in some cases you might.
Wow. Okay, so finding the right doctor is crucial.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to kind of, Freedom Wildlife Solutions and how they seem to be committed to educating their customers.
Right.
Like, do you think there's a role for pest control companies to play in raising public awareness about tick-borne illnesses?
Absolutely. I mean, they're the ones who are out there
Right.
dealing with ticks every day.
On the front line.
They're on the front lines, exactly.
Yeah.
They see the firsthand impact of these things, and they have this unique opportunity to educate their clients
Yeah.
about the risks, about the prevention strategies.
It's almost like they're, extending their services beyond just tick control.
Right.
They're becoming like public health advocates.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And speaking of their services, they talk about using targeted treatments for tick control.
Mm-hmm.
What does that even mean, and how is that different from like just traditional spraying methods?
Well, targeted treatments, it implies a more precise approach, right?
Okay.
So focusing on areas where ticks are known to be active. So it could involve granular applications, spot treatments, even habitat modification techniques,
Okay.
like creating barriers or removing tick-attracting vegetation.
So it's less about like blanketing the entire property with chemicals
Right.
and more about being strategic.
Yeah, being strategic and targeting the problem areas.
Okay. And they mentioned using safe and effective solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So like what are some of the common tick control products out there?
Yeah, there's a wide range.
I know there's a lot.
From natural repellents like essential oils all the way to synthetic pesticides,
Okay.
like pyrethroids, organophosphates.
Right. So like a whole spectrum.
Yeah. And, the effectiveness and the safety of those products, it varies a lot depending on the specific ingredients, the concentration, how they're applied.
Right. So lots of factors to consider. Yeah. I imagine there's a trade-off between like how effective something is and then also the environmental impact.
Right.
So like what are some of the things that consumers should think about when they're evaluating, different tick control options?
Well, it's about finding the right balance for your situation.
Right.
So if you have young children or pets, you might prioritize, natural or low toxicity products,
Yeah.
even if they require more frequent applications.
Right. It's like anything. You got to weigh the pros and cons,
Yeah.
see what works for your situation.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, are there any misconceptions or myths about tick control that you've come across? Like things that people commonly believe that just aren't true?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, one common one is that ticks only come out in the summer,
Oh, right. Right. Yeah.
But actually, a lot of tick species are active year-round,
Really?
even in cooler climates.
I did not know that.
So you got to stay vigilant about prevention all year,
Yeah.
not just during, peak season.
Huh. Okay. That's good to know. I would have thought it's cold out, no ticks.
Yeah, but they're out there.
Wow. Okay. All right. And then another myth I've heard is that like all tick bites lead to Lyme disease.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a big one.
Is there any truth to that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, Lyme disease is a serious concern, for sure.
Right.
But it's just one of many illnesses that ticks can transmit.
Okay.
And not all ticks carry all diseases.
Right.
Right. So, like, for example, the black-legged tick, also known as the deer tick, that's the primary vector for Lyme disease.
Okay.
But other tick species can spread different illnesses.
So you really say it's like a gamble.
Yeah, you never know.
You don't know what you're going to get.
What you might be exposed to.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay, so prevention even more crucial.
for sure.
All right, well, and Freedom Wildlife Solutions, it seems like they're really taking this multifaceted approach, combining like the professional treatments with the habitat modification and then ongoing monitoring. What are your thoughts on that kind of integrated approach?
I think it's the most effective way to manage ticks, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, relying solely on chemical treatments, it can create imbalances in the ecosystem.
Okay.
And it can lead to resistance over time.
Right.
But when you incorporate habitat modification and other preventative measures, you're essentially disrupting the tick life cycle
Right.
and reducing their overall population.
So you're hitting it from all sides,
Exactly.
not just trying to nuke them.
Yeah, you got to be smarter than the tick.
Smarter than the tick. All right, I like that. Okay, and speaking of, Freedom Wildlife Solutions, they really highlight their extensive service area.
Yeah, they cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, multiple counties there in North Carolina. What does that tell you about, their expertise and their adaptability?
Well, it suggests that they're familiar with a pretty diverse range of environments
Right.
and tick populations,
Right, different ticks in different areas.
Yeah, exactly. So each county probably has its own unique challenges and tick species.
Sure.
So they've probably had to, adapt their strategies to effectively address those nuances.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Nope.
All right, well, as we kind of wrap up our deep dive here into the world of tick control, what are some of the key takeaways that you hope our listeners will remember?
Well, first and foremost, I hope they remember that tick prevention is an ongoing process. It's not a one-time fix.
Okay. Yeah.
It's about staying vigilant, incorporating preventative measures into your routine, being aware of the risks, all of that.
It's a lifestyle.
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, you got to stay on top of it.
Exactly.
Okay. And I also hope, listeners will remember that there's a lot more to tick control than just spraying chemicals.
Right.
That we talked about.
It's about habitat modification, tick checks, protective clothing, even just choosing the right tick control products. It's all part of the picture.
Yeah, it's multi-pronged.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think one of the most valuable things we've uncovered is, just the importance of education.
Oh, for sure.
Like knowing how to identify ticks, understanding the diseases they can transmit, being able to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
If you think you might have a tick-borne illness.
All of that. Yeah, those are empowering tools.
It is, yeah. Knowledge is power, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the more we understand about ticks and their behavior, the better equipped we are to, protect ourselves.
And our family.
And our pets and our loved ones, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very well said. So to our listener, if you're in the Clayton area and you're looking for some help with this whole world of tick control,
Yeah.
Freedom Wildlife Solutions seems like a company worth checking out.
Yeah, they clearly have a passion for what they do, and their integrated approach, that's something to be admired.
Yeah, for sure.
But, regardless of where you live, I hope this deep dive has inspired you to take tick prevention seriously
Right. Yeah.
and empower yourself with the knowledge to stay safe.
Absolutely. Knowledge is the best repellent.
That's a good one.
Stay curious, stay informed, and stay tick-free.
Well said.